This session is going to be about growth from the perspective of retention. Growth is more than recruiting new members. Unless we retain members, we are spinning our wheels and we do not grow. Retaining those members we recruit is necessary for growth. Before this session ends, we will not only make the case for retention, we will emphasize some of the tools and techniques to enhance retention. This session on retention is part 2 of the growth equation. In this session, we will encourage each of you to look at your club, your membership as a whole, and how your club can employ some key elements in the retention process. Part 1, which emphasizes recruitment, is also available. It addresses the aspects of recruiting based on club strengths, marketing your club, and helping members realize how everyone has a role and responsibility in the recruiting process. Communication specialists, mission specialists, and a highly experienced group of training and support specialists have committed their time, and their experience, and their dedication to Sertoma's future. Much of the information shared during this training is rooted in some resources at your fingertips and only a few clicks away. These 2 documents, available at sertoma.org in the Member Center under Club Resources, should be used during your retention and recruiting efforts. They are well written and recently were updated in June of 2019. In general, there is no path solution to retention. There's no step 1, step 2, step 3 approach. Why is that? It is because every club is as unique as its membership and the community it serves. Retention, like recruitment, is local in its nature and appeal. Each club and each community is unique. Therefore, as you experience this training, keep your mind open. Look for points that seem to speak to your impressions of your club's membership. Along the way, you might note some things you will want to try. At the end, we'll recap them as a refresher. As an objective, try to identify at least 4 items or actions that you can do to help your club's retention. First, let's be right out and in the open. Here are the easy questions we can use to frame the training to follow. What is retention? If we were talking about retaining water, we might think of holding water in a pond, a lake, or even a dam. Think of the body of water as a resource. It represents potential energy. It can be considered life-giving and life-sustaining. In terms of members, they are a resource. They are a resource for good. They are energy. Members retained are critical resources. We have invested in them, and like all energy forms, conservation and using them wisely makes us healthier, and we will live longer. When does retention begin is a question as old as dirt among Sertomans and has even sparked spirited discussions among Sertomans over the years. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but for purposes of argument, retention of Sertoma members begins the first time they hear the word Sertoma. And someone may hear, what is Sertoma? Retention might also begin when a potential member sees a publicity item or something published about Sertoma. Does Sertoma have a retention problem or a recruiting problem? Can also stimulate emotional discussion, and in our case is a reason for this training. If we don't have a problem, we are offering this because we certainly have room for improvement. The next few slides will look at this question a little deeper. The upcoming series of slides are designed to give us some details relating to recruiting and retention in recent years. First, there will appear a couple of sets of numbers, and these numbers will represent new members recruited, and on the bottom, members lost. Note the relative consistency of new members recruited and total members lost. Have we demonstrated our ability to recruit? Yes. 686 and 674 are rather consistent. Have we also had consistent member losses? Yes, frighteningly so. This center line really does not do much for us, but shows us how the loss was computed. Now I must add the remaining 2018-19 numbers. Does the drop from 674 to 575 indicate we are not recruiting as effectively? Intuitively speaking, if we recruited fewer but still lost that consistent amount, our retention has also suffered, and even greater than in previous years. Does Sertoma have a recruiting problem? Yes. Does Sertoma have a retention problem? Yes. We are doing this as part of and in support of Vision 2020. So let's move on to find some ways to fix the problem. Now that the situation has been clarified, it is time to face the tough questions and look at some Vision 2020 help. That help is available when your club is contacted by a communications specialist whose job it is to see how Sertoma can help your club. Unless you do not fit the profile of a club losing more than you are gaining, we have trainers and programs that can help you. We have trainers and leaders who have faced the same problems as each of you. Most have helped their own clubs turn things around. In the remaining time, we are going to try to give you some ideas to use in your club. Remember that objective? At least 4 things you can employ to retain members. Before even identifying what we should do, we must understand the current situation in our club and be open to improving that situation if we have a retention problem. Open is a very important attitude to have as we go forward. Open to ideas and open to accepting the situation of our club as it is now. Opening doors that are already in our club or can be used in our club to retain members. And making sure we are doing everything possible to have open doors and a welcoming and positive environment to encourage prospects to enter our club. Let's take a few minutes on a lighter side and try to identify our clubs. Are we an A club, just cruising along, not gaining or losing members? Same members, same meetings, same fundraisers, same sponsorship, same. I am so bored. I don't know why I even stay. Are we a B club who just seems to bleed members? No new members, but always losing a few. C and D clubs have been recruiting members into the club, but both are losing members. We want to look at the successes and potential here. Fortunately, in our illustration, Club C is recruiting more than they are losing, and Club B is holding their own. Retention is good. You may also see an E club with no illustration. Can anyone tell me what club this might be? An E club should probably be indicated by a small e rather than a large E. It has lost energy completely. It may have even turned its back on Sertoma. Fails to pay dues. Does not file reports to Sertoma or even the IRS. Sadly, an E club may not even be receptive to Vision 2020. On a slightly more optimistic note, we do have a lot of A clubs in Sertoma. They are doing a lot of things right, but appear to have no desire to change and to add members, to increase fundraising, or sponsorships. They are not motivated to change. They are on a dying course and will fail unless they have a leader or two or more with the energy and a commitment to embrace the vision of 2020. If you feel you're in an A club, at the end of this training session, contact Headquarters Sertoma with your club name and your desire to receive Vision 2020 assistance. A communications specialist will be in contact with your club. Your club can rise again. Are you a B club? Sadly, losing members over time. Some just age out, and some either move away or lose interest and quit. You were once active and thriving, and even built a stash of cash in the bank that you now use to fund sponsorships. You even probably have some past leaders who were great leaders above club level and would like to see the club rise again. Your club can benefit by reaching out to the communications specialist who calls. Your club has the potential closer at hand than you may realize. If you are a C or D club, we ask you to identify clubs in your area who can benefit from your success. Invite struggling club leaders to attend your regular meetings and even your board meetings. Struggling clubs can learn from you. It is likely you are already doing many of the positive concepts Vision 2020 has to offer. You, like the communications specialist and the training support specialist, can provide example and the assistance to clubs with potential. It is important for you to make sure you show that you have the tools and can be even stronger under Vision 2020. We've considered the easy questions. We may have even given you some general insight to the way your club is now operating. Now's the time to really get down to looking at some answers to the tougher questions. Perhaps it would be better stated that this is the time to look at how we can open some possibilities for you to consider. For a club to advance under Vision 2020, they must be open to ideas and see how those ideas can be accepted and employed. A second concept using the open concept is to look at how leaders and members can open doors within the club that enhances retention. Finally, retention is even related to making sure your club has open doors. Remember, when does club retention begin? It may begin when you open your doors for the first time, even when that opening is by way of publicity or some other. Many clubs know they want to embrace the changes of Vision 2020, but may need encouragement to take those initial steps. If you have already participated in the recruitment lesson that accompanies this training, this may sound like a broken record. However, before a club can move forward and cultivate ideas and concepts that enhance retention, the leaders and membership must realistically look at themselves by way of a club assessment. Using the club assessment sheet available online at sertoma.org is a good place to start. A club might even choose to use the Sertoma provided copy as an example and develop their own assessment sheet. Many of our clubs have a rich history. Does your club do orientations? Not just for a new member, but as a refresher for longtime members who might be re-energized and retained by being reminded of past successes. In all cases, a successful retention effort and plan to enhance retention must have leadership support. More complicated, but an element often overlooked in a retention strategy might be the current structure and general operation of the club. We will now look at some specific ways to open doors within your club. Simply stated, when a member brings a prospective member to a meeting, do members make the guest feel welcome and special? Does the introduction of the guest include a couple elements of interest that members can pick up on as conversation starters? These small touches reinforce retention. When you induct a new member, do you do it with some ceremony and show the new member that it is a special occasion for the club? Several excellent examples of inductions are found on Sertoma.org. Previously mentioned was the concept of regularly doing member orientations for new and longer-term members. Orientations are reminders of opportunities and successes. The Mentor Program and the GEM program are still active and are excellent ways to stimulate involvement. Involvement means activities, and inclusion leads to retention. The new member kit from Sertoma has the basics. When the club includes supplements such as member handouts, a member handbook, officer and committee lists, a member roster, and other club-specific items, it carries a retention and an inclusion message. Do you assign all members to committees? Retention is being a part of the action. Next to having members being involved early is having them involved as often as possible. When you hear, "It is always the same people doing everything," it is time for active committee chairs and club leaders to make personal invites to serve. Members may say they don't do it for awards, but I've not seen recognition turned down. If we can agree that retention starts early, even before a prospective member attends their first meeting, having a club open door starts the retention process. Is your meeting location appealing, not only to new member prospects, but to your existing members? Are members proud of the location, and do they feel comfortable attending the meetings? The image of leadership being organized and professional, like location, instills pride and loyalty, both of which enhance retention. Involvement as a retention stimulant has been stated in several forms previously, like awards, publicity, and members seeing themselves involved in an event. Gaining recognition in the community breeds not only club ownership, but with it, retention. Perhaps the most difficult element of retention in many of our clubs is to transition over time. Failure to understand and adapt to a changing society or demographic among those we serve will make us irrelevant and not needed. If there's one thing we must understand, accept, and embrace in Vision 2020, it is that our organization must constantly adapt our service and our membership focus to reflect the needs of the community we serve and give our membership reason to continue service. We've covered a lot of ground and concepts that bear on retention. Hopefully you find 4 new things for you to employ in your club and meet the objective of this training. And more importantly, reverse the trend as part of Vision 2020 to recruit, grow, and retain more members in service to mankind. Thank you for participating in this Vision 2020 training.